Okay, welcome to another episode of Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday. Dai-shihan here from Warrior Concepts. And this week's episode, combat kicking skills. Again, we're going to run contrary to a bunch of popular beliefs, but the whole idea here is being able to handle things out there, not in a squared circle or whatever, right? The after school, high school, meet me in the parking lot. We're going to duke it out for bragging rights and those kind of things. Anyway, all right. So let me start off. One of the common themes in my training coming up through the years, right? Hasmi Sensei, my teacher, would very often point out the huge difference between sport fighting, conventional style-based martial arts, and he just used the phrase real Budo. Okay. And what he's talking about is actual combat, right? No do-overs, no shit talking afterwards, no asking for a rematch, nothing like that, right? So we really need to make sure that our heads around the right thing. Now, ultimately, is fighting? Sure, right? A punch is a punch, a kick is a kick, that kind of thing. But the difference, and I'm assuming that if you're tuning into this kind of thing, you might be looking to pick up an extra trick or two, but we're looking for, if not mastery and a sense of expertise, we're at least looking to have an edge, right? That gives us a better than average chance of winning, right? It's kind of like when I teach combat handgun stuff, and I tell my students, right? Your baseline goal should be to have a better hit miss ratio than the average cop on the street, right? And that's 80-20. That means for every 10 rounds that leaves their weapon, 2 land in a place that will shut the other person down quickly and effectively. Otherwise, you're trading bullets. And we have a saying in that realm, you can't miss often enough to win. And that's the same for here. Okay. All right. So I see a lot of people checking in. The numbers are climbing. That's a really, really cool thing. But I also expect that, like a lot of popular topics, as we move through this, the numbers are going to drop because I'm going to say things, and I'm just warning you ahead of time. I'm going to say things that are not popular, people don't want to hear, right? And it runs against the thing, right? A lot of people are going to sign on because they were interested, and then they saw this fat old bald guy, and what could I possibly know because I'm not a 20-something with six-pack abs. I do have six-pack abs. They're just hidden. Anyway, all right, so the problems that what we really need to look at are the problems with conventional fight skills that the masses tend to gravitate to, right? I don't mean mass like a cancerous mass. I mean most people, right? And if most people are doing it, do we really want to be doing that thing? Okay, from a strategic standpoint, I don't, because if I'm doing the same thing everybody else is doing, well, then shit, he already knows what I'm going to do. He probably has defenses against it. It's already been used on him, so he has escapes for it or counters, right? That's not the way to approach a situation where, right? And that's not, if you think about all these martial lineages that developed, right, over time, right? And they talk about having secrets in the scrolls and whatnot, right? Those secrets were tightly guarded because that was their edge. Whether it was the way their sword was designed and the length, or how they used it, or just, we need to think about this thing from a better perspective than just scoring points and, again, having bragging rights afterwards. Okay. This is about self-defense, survival, self-protection, not getting a trophy or a belt or stroking my ego. Right. Anyway. All right. So again, this episode, we're focusing on kicking skills, but we could just as easily be focusing on punching, grabbing, the grappling or joint manipulation kind of things. This time it's kicking. Okay. But first, let me tell you a story. Right. And this goes straight to this. Okay. A bunch of years ago, I had a student, his name was Nate. And Nate, when he came to me, we had done an open house to obviously to recruit for new students and whatnot. And the benefit of people coming in, because when most schools do an open house, right, they do it like, here's some pizza and here's some whatever, or come in and get information about our classes. People know what they're coming in for, right? But what's the benefit? What's the upside? What are you offering that nobody else is? So what we offered was we were going to teach 3 of our Shodan, our black belt knife defense techniques. Right? Anybody that came in, whether they had any experience or not, that's what we're doing. Okay. That made people, ooh, I want to do that. Right. Okay. So Nate had come in. Nate was at that time 17, and a little backstory. Nate was also a prime candidate for both of his knees, getting knee surgery because he started martial arts training at 5. No, he was 13. I take that back. He was 5. So he had spent 8 years studying an art where he could go to competitions, he could win trophies, get belts, all that kind of stuff. But the snapping kicks wore away at the young man's knees because they're not a good idea for young kids because most of the shit is cartilage and doesn't work out so well. Anyway, so Nate gets his first degree black belt. So at that point, he was 16, 17, something like that, right? And some of you guys know the outline of the story because there's so much in this story, it's easy to pull from different things. But Nate had gone to the mall with a couple of his friends, and they came out of the mall. One of the friends was old enough to drive, right? So he had a car, whatever, right? So they come out, and there are these 2 jack wagons sitting on Nate's friend's car, right? So some words were exchanged. Get off the damn car, not yours. What the hell's wrong with you? That kind of thing, right? These guys slide off the car, rivets and jeans, scraping across paint job and all that. And this was not a junker beater car. This was a nice sports car. Anyway, hop off and immediately start coming in to engage, right? One pulls a knife. So Nate's first response was, I gotta protect my friends. So he starts yelling at this guy, you want to fight? I'm over here. Directs the knife guy to him, figuring the 2 friends could handle the other thing. Either way, long story short, Nate easily deals with the knife guy, sends him running, has to go save his 2 friends, whatever. He and I had a conversation afterwards, and he was explaining how things happened, use the frameworks that we teach, and that's all fine. However, a really important question that I wanted to know the answer to was how much of the previous 8 years training did you use? How much of that came back? And he said 0. He said at no point did the range or the setup or whatever match up so I could use any of it. Now, this is not about the other system and what it was developed for and designed for or whatever. It was this particular situation didn't allow for any of that. And Nate got really, really good at these kicks. As a matter of fact, as a 17-year-old, he used to teach breakout workshops here at the academy to teach people how to do those Taekwondo kicks. So he could also teach them how to defend against them. Okay. Who better to teach that kind of thing, right? I can do the kicks, but who better to teach them than somebody that's really, really good? Won trophies, tournaments, the whole deal, right? But what ended up happening was he was in a situation where none of that was going to work. And he said, even if I wanted to throw one of those kicks, my biggest concern was this guy, whether it was a flinch response or an actual skilled kind of thing, cutting my femoral artery and me bleeding out on the parking lot. Okay, just not cool stuff. Anyway, got another story along those lines later on from a different martial art. But anyway, so again, how's this possible, right? Where none of that, well, again, right? We'll talk about some of this stuff as we go along. But before I forget, and my guys tell me that I forgot again, right? Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. If you're over on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get notifications when stuff comes in. Also, if you're not on our email list, because glitches happen in different places. So if you can be in multiple places, it's a ninja thing. You can be in multiple places that have multiple routes of information. You don't miss out on shit. But if you go to onlineninjaacademy.com / what the hell is it? Whiteboard Wednesday. That's what it is. Whiteboard Wednesday. You can sign up for the list. But even so, if you're just on YouTube, on the channel, just subscribe, that kind of stuff. All right. Now that I've gotten that out of the way. All right. So let's start with why well-meaning people end up developing the kind of skills that they do. Again, today we're talking about kicks. Okay. But why do they go about doing it? Okay. And so if we can understand the psychology, then we can do things like, forgive ourselves for buying into something that maybe wasn't what we needed, okay? Or being more critical as we assess different things that we need to learn, okay? Just thinking about this today, and this has nothing to do with martial arts, but has everything to do with self-protection. It was actually in the financial realm of things, because I have people online that want to train with us, but you know, the world's out to get them, and some people can't, so you need to make your prices, I don't know, free, or you know, you pay me and I'll train, kind of thing. And I got to thinking about the skills that people don't get, whether it's in school or from their families or whatever, that lead them down this path, because what they're doing is they're looking at the effect, right? I want to do this thing, but I don't have the money for it. I want to do this thing, but I don't have the time for it. I don't, okay? And from a ninja's perspective, that's bass backwards, right? Ass backwards. You get it, right? So the thing here is that from a strategic thinking standpoint, the place we need to start is, what do I need? What's the problem I need to solve? So when it's, I don't have enough money, how about if we start by going down through our bills, right? What are our normal monthly expenses? If you need to put in the overpriced Starbucks coffee shit, whatever, do that secondary. But the first one is, how much is rent, gas for the car? What are the things I have to come up with, right? What I want to do is I want to come up with a dollar sign that is a break even, basic survival break even. Because if you're not doing that, well, then whatever job you have is not going to cut it. Whatever welfare check is coming in is not going to cut it, right? We can't get around that, okay? I'll get back to that in a second, right? Then the next thing is, what would you like to do, right? Mine is a Japan trip once a year. Mine is 2 longer vacations, 7 to 10 days with my wife, kind of thing, and then a couple of weekend getaways, right? What are those things going to cost, okay? Total those things up, you know, the occasional eating out, whatever, right? I want to come up with a baseline. What do I need, okay? And then I need to wire in, at very conservative 10%, I wire in 20% for shit happens. Like, I just ended up getting a screw in my freaking tire, $241 later, ta-da, right? So that way I'm not caught with my damn proverbial pants down. So I have this. Now I know what jobs to go looking for, because they pay in that range. Or I can start doing things, side hustles or whatever, because I need to meet that number. People tend to come at it from a survivalist standpoint, right? I have what I have is what I have. But if they started from this perspective, maybe they wouldn't just take whatever job came along because I just need money. It's too vague. Same thing, right? Well, I need to be able to defend myself, so I need to learn how to kick. I need to learn how to punch. Okay, great. That's a good place to start, but how? Okay, so here is a short list of reasons why, and I'm sure there's more, right? Why people learn what they do and spend time mastering what they do, right? First one, it's real simple, and Mom warned you against this already, okay? All right, it's what everybody else is doing. Okay, it's what everybody else is doing. Okay. Second, it's what they were taught was the best way, right? Go back to the money thing, right? Way too many people take money advice, martial arts advice, whatever, from people. People take money advice from people who are broke. People take martial arts advice from people who have never, ever been in a fight. People take self-defense and survival advice from people that might have been in fights or might have been in tournaments or whatever, but have never been in a life or death. If you screw this up, there are no do-overs, and your family better look good in black kind of scenarios, right? We need to go to the people who don't just have information. They have information and experience, and they excel. They produce success to the degree that we want to produce in that realm. Well, I don't know if they'll want to talk to me. Well, then become the kind of person they want to talk to, right? Start with humility. Stop telling all of your stories and about what you know is right, right? Because they have no reason to give you any other answers if you already come across like you already know all the answers. Okay. So another reason that people do things, sorry to say, it's the cool factor. Oh man, that kick. Oh, that was awesome, man. Yeah. Okay. Awesome does not win fights. Okay. Well, maybe it does, but then every once in a while you get lucky and win the lottery too. Okay. Let's see. Number 4, what do I have here? They don't know any better. What I mean by that is they've never been in a fight. They've never been attacked. They might have seen other people be attacked, but there's a snap judgment call like, oh, shit, that was scary. And there's no research done and YouTube is full of this stuff, right? CCTV footage. I just had a discussion with students the other day, and we just posted it on our Prepared Defenders Facebook page. This U.S. military guy is attacked in a store. This was a politically motivated attack, right? Attack with a knife from behind, right? And fumbled with his weapon to try to get this thing out. Had it not been for some bystanders come in, tackle the attacker, he eventually got himself away. But by that time, round gets chambered by the good guy, right? Pops a round off, that kills him, right? But what ends up happening is the initial, right, the serviceman, right, died of his knife wounds a little bit later. Okay, so 3 lessons that I put out in this thing is: 1, there was already a situational awareness problem. 2, there was not a hot round in the chamber, and that weapon was not prepared as a self-defense tool. Right? If you don't have a round in the chamber and minimal safeties to have to deal with under pressure, that weapon is not designed for self-defense. It's not set up for self-defense. Yeah, but sensei, safety. You're the safety. Okay? It requires more training. So it took him a full 9 seconds from the time he went for his weapon to fumbling around to chamber around to get it off. That is absolutely unacceptable. And on top of that, he wasn't positioned in a way that he could keep an eye on the door, people in the room, just, okay? And just because you kicked his ass doesn't mean you're not going to die later or end up in jail or whatever, okay? People don't think big enough, right? They want to learn things and hope that they can just string them together in an oh shit moment and everything will be okay, right? But we went out of our way to post that because there's a trigger warning on it, right? Oh, it's graphic stuff, right? Whatever. I told my guy that post stuff, absolutely friggin' post that. It should be a trigger warning. This shit is messy, okay? This is not about bragging rights. You want bragging rights? Okay, the bragging rights is your kid or your grandkid or whatever telling his friends tomorrow that grandpa or grandma or whatever came home last night, tucked me in bed, and read me a story. Right? Let them do the bragging. Right? Anyway, number 5, 2-dimensional thinking. Two-dimensional thinking. Talk about this in just a bit, and this is going to be the brunt of today's training because I can't address all these things as we're going along, right? Another one is personality type. Okay, personality type. Just like personality determines people's jobs, college degrees, if they go that direction, or trade school certifications, we gravitate toward those things that we feel comfortable in. Introverts tend to not become used car salesmen. Used car salesmen tend to not do well in a cubicle doing paperwork. Okay, so this is all in the ninja stuff, right? A way to be able to read what's going on inside somebody, right? In the hop bowl, these 8 categories of skill sets and whatnot. Dai-shihan, right? Understanding and knowledge. Being able to know a couple of pieces of information about somebody, not guess, but have a pretty good thing. So if somebody's working a job that doesn't match their college degree or what they went to school for, now I need a couple of other pieces of information to figure out if they realize that's not what they wanted to do for a job, or they realized there were no jobs that paid well to pay off the damn loan for the college degree they just got, right? Because, you know, they got their college degree because it was something they were interested in. Well, so much for that, right? And I'm not paying your damn loan back because that was your damn mistake for not doing the background research or falling for the sales pitch of the university who went, oh yeah, right, we're going to do this, right? And I know that makes me unfavorable, but that's okay. I'm unfavorable to a lot of people. Personality type. Number 7 is rules. Okay. Spoken and unspoken. Okay. Spoken rules are, I got involved in a sport martial art. And so this thing is preparing me for the ring, which means everything we do in practice has to be ring legal. Okay. So if I were doing a different art and not this one, I would be practicing anything but sticking my thumb or other fingers in somebody's eye socket and popping that eyeball. Anything other than hooking, fish hooking the lips or going after pressure points or snapping a knee or going out of my way to break a bone so their body just doesn't function and they can't get at me. I win. But it's not about winning, right? It's don't lose, okay? Unspoken rules are, and I used this in a class the other day, and I know I'm gonna offend some people, but other people are gonna get this, including people that it might point to, right? Well, that's not fair, man. You don't do that like sneaky chink shit. People said that stuff growing up. They still say it, right? When they talk about Asian martial arts, right? No, man, guys don't kick other guys in the groin, man. That's just not cool. If you're bigger than me and I need to shut you down, I'm going to give you a lump in your throat you used to piss out of. I promise you. Okay? I'm going to kick it so damn hard, you will have 2 headaches in one place. Okay? Anyway, so rules, we're just going to put et cetera down here, okay? Because all ninja lists end in an open fashion, okay? Lots of reasons that people would gravitate to very, very specific types of techniques. Another one, do I have this? Oh, yeah, let's just go back up to this one, right? So everybody else does. Another name for that is cultural conditioning. It's all the fights I saw. It's the way the guys or the thugs or whatever on the streets where I grew up, that's how they threw hands. Okay? So my mom told me, and my grandmother told me, and I'm sure yours did as well, right? If all your friends jumped off a cliff, you're going to jump off too? Okay? We need to think for ourselves. We need to start with the problem in hand, right? But what we're going to focus on today, based on the street ready skills, is we're going to focus on this 2-dimensional thinking. Now, I was going to cross over to some other things, but you'll see what I mean here in a minute, okay? So, again, just going to focus on one of these. This is also the primary focus of this Friday's virtual class. There's the link for those of you who sign up for this stuff on a regular basis, and it's there for those of you who don't as well. Anyway, right? So here's the question that I'm getting to with this 2-dimensional thinking. What if your attacker or assailant, or at least one of them, is not right in front of you? See, 2-dimensional thinking is people that think that all attacks and all self-defense and all fighting happen nose to nose, toe to toe. The attacker will always be in front of me. Okay? But what if he comes from over here? What? Okay? So it also points to other questions like, what if he slips inside or is already inside, like in a surprise attack kind of thing? What if he slips inside your kicking range? And okay, I know, well, I could just punch him, right? What if he slips inside that range and my legs are the only limbs I have free because my hands or my arms are bound, right? They're tied, handcuffed, whatever, okay? They're injured or they're otherwise engaged. Like I'm dealing with this guy here and his freaking friend comes in, okay? What if you don't have the benefit of speed and can't move fast enough to get him with the conventional long-range kicks or strikes or whatever that everybody is convinced is right? It's the way to happen, okay? For those of you who are my age or getting close there, right? I'm 61. You might remember this guy was a very, very powerful kicker in the tournament world way back. His name was Bill Wallace. His fighter name was Superfoot, right? This guy had lightning fast kicks, and he could kick really, really high. They were these typical Taekwondo, Tang Soo Do, Korean stylist kind of kicks, right? And he had an article, he had a column in Black Belt magazine for quite a while. And one of the ones that stand out to me the most is an article that he wrote where he very specifically says, I am best known for these types of kicks, but in a back alley, there's no way in hell I'm throwing a kick like that. The guy could be armed, whatever, right? There's too great of a chance of him catching it or me hitting something, and we'll talk about that here in a bit, where I don't have the sparring gear on, right? So I don't have foot protection on. He could have a blade, right? And whatever, just like with Nate, right? I'm not throwing that kick. This guy's got a knife. All he has to do is hold that thing up, and my femoral artery passes over that, and your femoral arteries can hold all the blood in your freaking body, right? Which means if your femoral artery gets opened up, you'll probably be dead at least before EMS shows up. You might even be dead before the emergency call is completed, okay? Because your heart doesn't have to pump the blood out of your legs, the arteries in your legs, right? Gravity will do that for you, okay? So there's certain areas, when we're doing knife defense stuff, there's certain areas you don't let them get near, okay? All these cocky fighter guys like to go, I got a technique you can't get out of. Yeah, I got techniques you're not putting me in. Okay. So it's just a different way of thinking, right? Let's see. Do I have another one here? Okay. So the problem with conforming to style and not having a diverse enough skill set to handle these problems is, again, all these things come out of student classes and whatnot. I had a call with my inner circle guys for their weekly coaching call last night, and we were discussing this idea, and I gave an analogy of a toolbox. Okay, we fill our toolboxes like when we go buy things, right? We buy a screwdriver set, right? It might be a Phillips screwdriver set, might be a flathead screwdriver set, might be a combination. But in there, you don't just have different lengths, because I might have to reach through something to get to the screw, but there's different size blades because the screw that I might have to work with, small, large, whatever. If I use a screwdriver that the end is too small for the head of the screw, I'll slide it in the slots and just spin away and nothing's going to happen. Conversely, if it's a small screw and I've got the only screwdriver I have has a big set of blades, I may not be able to get that in to do anything. I'll just strip the damn thing out like it's a drill bit, okay? Same thing with socket sets, wrench sets, whatever, right? Because we don't know what we're going to need when we get there. We know categories, but we don't know specifics. I know if I can use my legs, I'm going to use my legs. But how might I have to use my legs? Today we're talking about kicking. And specifically, we're talking about kicking. What I'm going to focus on here is kicks using just that part of the foot. Now, it could extend to the whole bottom, but there's a kick that is in our system that is very, very specific. We'll talk about that here a little bit more in a minute, right? But again, if I only have one Phillips screwdriver, one flathead screwdriver, one wrench or whatever, I have to freaking hope that the problem that I have to solve, that's going to be good enough. And if it doesn't, well, then I'm in the same position as everybody else who doesn't have any tools at all. Because having a tool that doesn't match the problem is having no tool. Right? So carrying around a weapon, but it's not loaded or it's not racked and ready to go. You better hope that he screams at you from across the street, 2 minutes, I'm coming. Right? So you might know the analogy about the hammer, right? If all you have is a hammer, then every problem has to be a nail, right? But as I told my students last night, if the problem isn't a nail, okay, the problem isn't a nail, if your skills or tools don't fit the paradigm, the problem you have to deal with, or the paradigm that you're training within, okay, then you're in the same spot as everyone who has never trained at all. you will have to make shit up as you go along and hope for the best. Okay? You will have wasted what? Weeks, months, years of time, effort, money, whatever. Okay? And your wife will be right. What's that shit for? You're wasting money on. Okay? You know what I'm talking about. A lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay? So what we're really talking about is having a sense of strategic flexibility, the ability to operate well in different realms based on different problem types. Just like when we work off the mandala and we have these 5 realms, well, we could classify 5 different types of punchers, right? Well, Sensei, how do you defend against somebody punching? How is he punching? Is he bigger than me, shorter than me? Okay. There's a whole bunch of variables in there. Okay. It's not 2 + 2 = 4. Okay, got that. I can go home. Okay. That's the drive up window mentality. Can I have technique 26, please? Here's my money. Well, thank you very much. The video, I'll look at it when I have time. All right. So anyway, right. So this is what the warrior's concept of Shiho-geri comes from, right? This Shiho-geri, right? Shiho-geri is 4-directional kicking. Okay, 4-directional kicking could also be methods, could also be rules, right? But for right now, 4-directional kicking, right? So we have kicks to the front of us, right? To the outside, not just to the side, to the inside. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a right leg, right? Inside or cross side and to the rear. Okay. So he is right in front of me. Or shit, he's coming in this way and I don't have time to get remaneuvered and I need to pick that leg up and go straight out from the side without turning. Okay. Cross side is I'm dealing with things and he's coming in here. My weight's on this leg and I need to pick up the opposite leg to do the work. Kind of a little hacky sack move, right? And rear kicks, we all get that kind of thing, right? Okay. So this is our starting point today. Okay. So it's not, I wrote down right leg, but if it's left leg, then this is the outside. That's the inside. Okay. We have to be able to do 4-directional kicking with each leg equally well. Okay. Because one of the variables in a bad situation is which leg is my weight on. And I don't have time to shift. And even if I did, I wouldn't, because it tells him that I'm shifting my weight to do something. And while I'm shifting my weight, I'm giving him time. All stupid things when we're thinking about life and death and not, well, I'll just go faster. Okay. Well, one of the variables in a life or death situation is you got the flu today or COVID or whatever. Okay. Because if somebody gets sick or injured in the sport world, they postpone the fight. Good luck with that. Okay. Today's not a good day, Mr. Bad Guy. Could you come back when I'm feeling better? You know, it's the same shit excuse that everybody gives for everything else. Today's not a good day. I'll mow the lawn tomorrow. Today's not a good day. I'll work on my business tomorrow. Today's not a good day. I'll go to work tomorrow. Today's not a good day. I'll love you tomorrow, honey. Who gives a shit if it's a good day or bad day? The situation requires attention. You're going to have to do the best you can with what you have. Because tomorrow you have the shit that you have to do tomorrow normally, and then we just added all the shit that I have to do today. I don't have any time. Well, no shit. Stop letting things back up. Okay? I know it's everybody else's fault. I get it. All right. So where are we? All right. So front and again, we don't know which direction somebody's coming from, which weight the foot's going to be on, that kind of thing. So this is the simple thing, right? Shiho-geri, very simple. Front kick, outside kick, cross-side kick, rear with the same leg. 1, 2, 3. Please notice that my chest didn't turn in any direction. We'll get to that in just a minute, okay? But it's also not so simple, okay? Because the kicks in ninjutsu do not use or allow for. Now, are there exceptions? There's always fucking exceptions. But we're not relying on the exceptions. The exceptions are the exceptions because we have to adapt. However, the base models are taught for a very specific reason, right? The kicks do not use or allow for pitching or leaning. Why? Because this stuff was developed during the Sengoku Jidai Warring States period. And those of you that keep following along with this stuff, I'm sure you're tired of hearing me say this, because Sensei, it's not the Sengoku Jidai Warring States period. It's 21st century America or Canada or UK or Australia or Macau. Or I know where it is. Okay. But then everything they had to deal with involved blades and a whole bunch of other shit, right? So why don't we pitch or lean? Because you're wearing at least half, if not your full body weight, on the upper 2/3 of your body in the form of armor. If you lean, you will fall down. And if you fall down, he doesn't need secrets to kill you. He just pokes you and it's a done deal. Okay? So there's no pitching or leaning, right? And also with pitching and leaning, right, you're exposing things. You're on. It's a fucked up thing. Anyway, all right. So there's no pitching or leaning. There's no pivoting on a base foot. Why not? Okay. Well, and I know, everybody can fall back. Well, this art does it, and that was traditional and whatnot. If you do your historical research, you might find out that certain very popular martial arts were either synthesized and combined with pieces of other things. One was a warrior art, one was a monk's art, right? Brought together for a sport reason, or there is no historical validation behind those things at all outside of point scoring in a certain context. Again, I told you I'm going to start losing numbers because nobody wants to hear that the shit that they've worked on for a long time. It's not about that not working. Just make sure you understand the arena, literally, where that's supposed to work, what it was designed for. Okay? You bring a knife to a gunfight, wrong arena. Bring a knife to a knife fight or an unarmed fight or whatever, oh, you got a serious advantage. Right? Okay? So this is not easy, right? But once you get it, you will not think like, and you will be more skilled than 95% of every other fighter, martial artist, whatever that's out there. We'll get back to that, right? So what else do we not allow, right? Flicking, snapping things. Flicking or snapping. Okay? Why? Because it wears away your freaking joints, right? But flicking and all that, right? That's great to land a kick where you're going to get a point just because the thing landed. But if I need to knock the guy out, or he's in armor as well, and I need to knock him sideways, it's not going to do anything. That's called wasting a shot. It's one of our strategies. You make him waste shots. Okay? Quick story here. One of my teachers way back in the day, he was teaching a seminar at a symposium where there were lots of martial artists and self-defense people teaching stuff. And these high-ranking karate guys, right? There were like 3 of them, came up to him and said, hey, really interested, right? Can you show us some advanced ninjutsu thing? Because he was teaching at a basic level during his little workshop part. What do you got? Because I think they were like 4th, 6th, and 8th on or something like that, right? So what do you have for advanced? So he goes, throw a kick, right? Well, this guy throws a kick and he just folds this way and then stands up underneath the kick and took a step forward and threw the guy backwards. The guy stands up. He's like, well, that should impress him, right? They're all looking at him like it's crickets. Okay? What the hell? He goes, okay, maybe you didn't see it, so we'll do it again, okay? And so throws it, right? Shifts under, right? So the kick goes over the head and shoulders, stands up underneath the leg and walks forward. So now the leg is on the shoulder and he walks forward, dumps the guy. Does it like another time or two, and these guys are like, we don't get it. What do you mean you don't get it? I just made you waste a shot. No, you didn't. What? I just made you waste a shot. No, you didn't. What do you mean I didn't make you waste a shot? Well, the kick landed. The kick didn't land. What he figured out was these guys were so indoctrinated in sport fighting that because the foot went through the space where the head and torso was, that it counted as a point. It counted as though it were landed. Because if I really wanted to kick you, I would have. But he was having these guys throw full-on kicks. So you did want to kick, and you missed 4 times. So what do you mean if I really wanted to, I would? I gave you the opportunity 4 times. I caught your kick, and I threw you. No-handed. No-handed because in the advanced levels, I want to be able to draw a weapon while I'm doing something unarmed. Okay? Right in the middle of you being thrown, before you can take uke, I'm cutting that femoral artery, walking away, going on to the next little melee. All right? But they didn't get it. Okay? So there's this really weird kind of thing, right? So we'll talk about, we're going to come across this because this is going to balance out this stuff, right? We need to know why. Okay? Why? Okay. No, why no flicking, snapping? Well, snapping things wear away at your freaking joints. That's why people have been in martial arts that have those kind of kicks and punches, right? Down the line, need joint replacement surgery. Elbows, shoulders, knees, right? Hips, because they've just been wearing away at this stuff. Okay. Flicking, if it does not slow him down or stop him, right? I'll talk about that here in a bit, about what the goal is not in this art, in a life or death situation. Okay. Well, what if it's not life or death? I don't know if this guy is intending to beat, break, maim, or kill me. But on the street, I'm not going to ask him because I can't trust his answer. And 2, I have to assume the worst. Because if I assume the least, I would like to do minimum to produce maximum effect. But, right, use of force is, I need to gauge this, because use of force doctrine is I use the minimum necessary to affect control of the situation. But minimum necessary might have been around the center body, because I tried other things, or I realized after watching this guy pop a couple of other ones, minimum is not going to be hands-on. It's not going to be a kick. It's not going to be a punch. Right? Or maybe I did punch him. And he's a 250-pound MMA guy who's used to getting punched in the head several times a week. That punch, it landed, but he's a couple of 100,000 bile cells short of a full brain, and it just didn't register. So now I need to punch him in the throat. I need to go for the hip joint. I need to snap a knee out from under him, something to render his body incapable of getting at me. Okay? Yeah, well, that's okay. Anyway, let's see. What else do we not do here? That goes along with the flicking here, right? We don't strike with the small bones at the top of the foot. Okay? People that do this a lot have those booties on. Okay? There's no footwear designed to protect my foot, or, well, to protect my foot a little bit, but my foot or his body parts from ninjutsu kicks. We would have to cushion all of this under here. Then you'd be walking like a freaking spaceman as you're moving, and then you couldn't get leverage because you're walking on a damn sponge, right? So, but if I've got this freaking shin guard and I've got this instep thing right here, of course I can kick him with that. If I'm wearing cowboy boots, sure I can kick him with that, right? But what if I'm not? Or what if he covers and those small bones of my foot, which are about thick pencil size, right? Slam into that. Or slam into the skull, right? Break a toe, break a foot bone, see how well you maneuver after that, right? So we don't have dumb shit like that, okay? Does that mean I won't kick him in the groin with that? No, but that goes along with strong points against weak points. That's different, okay? And we don't do extreme long range things. Right? We don't do extreme long range because the farther away you reach from your body, you get great range and reach, but your strength and power output diminish. Okay? So very, very different, right? What they do rely on instead is an upright posture. Again, these counter, right? So no pitching or leaning, right? Upright posture. Why? Well, because if I'm wearing armor, or I might be otherwise engaged. I might be dealing with this guy here and ducking punches or whatever, and his friend comes in and I need to pop something out from under him. Okay. So we're upright, right? All these things that lean assume that you're outside of striking or grabbing range. What happens when you're inside grabbing range? Okay. Always, always, always a stable base. Stable base footwork. We're not on our damn toes. We're not on the balls of our feet. Okay. Why? Why? Okay. Pivoting, stable. Why? Because back in the old days where this stuff was developed, you didn't have paved roads. You didn't have carpeted floor. You didn't have sneakers or shoes with treads. You didn't have unstable or unlevel ground, those kind of things, right? You had bare feet and you had straw sandals. Okay. Yeah, I know, but we don't wear that. Now we have this other stuff. Yeah, I know. But what if somebody jumps you getting out of your car, crossing a parking lot or whatever, crossing a little thing of grass, and it's been raining, or it's early in the morning and the grass is dew covered? It's going to be slick. Okay. What if, right? It's muddy. What if I'm on loose gravel or stone? What if, right? You ever slip walking into a place because they had just mopped the floors and your shoe and the tile being wet didn't match? What if some of us live in areas where in the winter things get a little slick? Okay. So we do have conditions like those, even if it doesn't look exactly the same. So if we prepare for the worst, everything else gets easier from there. Okay. If we recognize we won't always be the fastest, we won't always be the strongest, and we're not going to be, because in a self-defense situation, it's not like a sport fight where they team you up rank for rank, size for size, age for age, right? They make it a fair fight. Somebody might have a little bit more reach or whatever, but they match it up. Heavyweights don't fight super welterweights or whatever the freaking categories are. They don't do that. But a guy on the street who wants to take you will have already stacked the odds in his favor, or he will have cut you from the herd because this is supposed to be easy. Ninjutsu is designed for the underdog who is supposed to lose to come out on top. That's a difference. That's a huge difference. Okay? I know, I keep losing numbers. It's all right. All right. So they rely on bone jarring, slamming, and breaking strikes, right? I'm just going to write down breaking. Okay? Breaking strikes. All right. Because I want to debilitate the guy. Right? This is on the list of things you can't do in an MMA match, right? It might happen as a secondary thing, but it's unintended. Okay? On the street, okay? There's a lesson that comes from our long staff work that is at the base of everything. My teacher taught me, if you can't do this, you can't do the rest of staff work. And this one kihon is called ashibarai, attacking the leg, sweeping the leg. And it's not a sweep like most people think of. This is a way to blast the leg laterally to get the rest of the body to drop right into that next thing that you're doing. So it's not just a kick to the leg, and it's not just a sweep, and it's not just a little bit of an unbalance. It's not just a tricky move. It's an all-out attack, right? So if I can attack the legs and destabilize him to where his body's going down, I can hit him, 2, 3, 4 times on the way down because he can't fight back. Okay? Now that's cheating. See, that goes right back to rules, unspoken rules. We're not supposed to hurt the guy. You're just supposed to win. This is not a voluntary thing. In a fight, I assume if you're talking about a fight, you're talking about two guys that chose to be there. You got one or more people in that situation that didn't volunteer to be there, didn't choose to be there. They're not trying to win anything other than their freedom to get out. That's not a fight. That's a self-defense situation. Sorry, rules are different. The rules of engagement are absolutely different. Not just my opinion, legal definition as well. Okay. Let's see. The kicking rely on, I covered this already, using strong points against weaker ones. Okay. So I'm not using a weak point against big, broad, bony things, or risking running my shin or the small bones of my foot into an elbow or something like that. I know I aimed for the rib cage, but if his flinch response covered and I tagged his elbow, well, guess what? I hope you can fight well on one foot, because you're not going to kick with that one again unless you want to pass out, because the more pain gets in there, it's not going to go well, right? So, right, and this is not just a ninjutsu thing. This is not just a Shidoshi or a dai-shihan Miller thing. This goes all the way back to Sun Tzu's Art of War and other treaties like that. Okay, using strong points against weak, right? Shutting him down, attacking his core points so that the other parts can't work together, right? Whether you're talking about an army or an individual person, right? Making sure that you're stable and you have the high ground or the stable strong ground, right? Being upright. Don't be in a position where you're short on ammo, short on whatever. I mean, it's just a recipe for disaster. Why the hell would you lean way over to do something? I know, I get it, right? But again, my mom also said just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? Anyway, and let's see. The kicks typically, right, are mid-range. Okay? And the reason for mid-range is at mid-range, we get a good mix between the two parts of a highly effective strike. Not that you can't use one part or the other part, but in taijutsu, all strikes, whether it's a kick or a fist or whatever, two parts: impact and follow through. Okay, impact and follow through. Right, impact provides shock value and it breaks a bone. The follow through part of the strike is there for knockdown or to knock away and bone displacement. The reason why Funakoshi and several other people in that era, when they had outlawed Budo for combat, right? Because they were trying to westernize, the merchants were taken over, the samurai were being outlawed, all that kind of stuff, right? The reason why Funakoshi and a couple of these other guys converted their art where you ended up with these snapping strikes, right, is because it minimized damage. All the stuff that's in a lot of these old schools, right, that they don't play those games, in those arts, a lot of people don't stick around long enough, or the student didn't stick around long enough when he became a teacher to get the very high stuff. But what Funakoshi and these other guys did was took all that killer stuff and moved it way up, right? So they do a lot of this body weight and motion and stepping and all that kind of stuff that you don't see in the early stages, because they need to make sure that the person was developing character traits that, you know, so, and they were also trying to convince the government, we're not doing that stuff. Okay. It wasn't just Takamatsu that did that. Anyway, but the point of all this stuff is this is not for points, right? The goal is in being in a life-threatening self-defense survival situation, right? Not necessarily to win, right? But to render, and I actually had a teacher say this, your job is not to win. Your job is to render his body incapable of getting at you as quickly and in as few moves as possible, period. 4 moves or less, 10 seconds or less. Okay? This is not for 2-minute rounds. It's not for 5-minute rounds. This is not entertainment for the masses who bought fucking tickets. We want to have a good fight. Hell no. This goes past 7 to 11 seconds and the glycogen stores in my muscles deplete. These are going to start to get heavy because I need another 7 to 11 seconds of figuring things out and trying to hold my ground, which is why you'll see guys do a flurry of things and then they'll be maneuvering and then they go in for another flurry of things because the body needs to reload and reset the glycogen for bursts. Okay, it's not the same. Okay, when they tell me that you couldn't last in a 2-minute round, 5-minute round, No, 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 no. I'm not training for that. Okay. You're right. I'm old. I'm fat. You're right. Okay. You win that argument. Okay. But don't put your eyeball close enough to my fingers. Don't put your throat close enough. Don't put something close enough to me that when I break it, you can't move. Okay. I'm not there to win. I'm there to go home. And I'm not there voluntarily, which means just like the story of the fox chasing the rabbit and the grandfather looking at his grandson and saying, who do you think's going to win? The grandson goes, well, the fox, because he's the aggressor. And the grandfather says, 9 out of 10 times, the rabbit's going to win. How's that possible? See, the fox is running for his life or for his lunch. The rabbit's running for his life. Two different intentions. Okay. I need to make the attacker's intention different. Okay. So let's revisit these 4 kicking directions just to wrap this up. Okay. To see how they're not 4 directions. Okay. They're not. Okay. They are 8. Right. This is not shiho geri. This is happo geri. Happo is a contraction of hachi, 8, and ho, directions, ways, methods, whatever, right? So Japanese linguistically, hachi ho becomes happo, right? So it's, I guess I could have just done that, right? Happo, we'll just get rid of this part here. So it's happo geri, right? Because now what we have to do is fill in the diagonal directions. Because again, where's the bad guy? Where's he coming in? What angle do I need to kick from based on where I'm standing? Okay? But wait, there's more. They're not 8 either. Happo, when you take any number, including the shiho, go back to shiho. Shiho, oppo, whatever. Okay? Take any number, put ho after it. On a very base level, it does mean direction, method, whatever. Okay? But happo directly points to it. Okay? A different color here. As soon as you do that, it means infinite. Which means I need to be able to kick with either leg. I can't switch legs to make up for other directions. With either leg, I need to be able to kick in about 345 to 350 degrees around me. But it's 360 degrees in a circle, Sensei. I know. But see, if I kick in, if I fill in that gap to make it 360, I will have had to snap through my own base leg. So at Friday's coaching call, I've got a drill for folks to start doing cross kicks here and kick with the same leg, toes up, foot without twisting, without leaning, same upper position, all the way around until they're doing that cross kick. I know you can't see my legs from down there. Also behind themselves. Okay. This becomes happo. I need to engage a target at whatever degree they are off of, from, that's me, right? Off center, anywhere. Okay. So the beginner lesson starts here. Actually, beginner lesson is, can you just lift your damn legs to the front and not fall over and not lean and all that kind of stuff, right? Okay. All the basic stuff has front. But then we have a program coming up, our module 3. So it's intermediate level 2. That one of the primary lessons is this shiho geri, right? And so this, you're getting a heads up on this kind of thing. But ultimately, it leads to happo 8 directions, but eventually infinite directions. I should be able to kick at any point around me without pivoting the foot, the base foot, without changing my alignment forward. Because again, I might be wrestling with this guy and I don't know where the other things are coming in. Also, if I trip this guy, apply something, and he's going down and I'm going to drop a kick on him before he hits the ground, where is he going to be in space? I have to have the ability to engage that target. Otherwise, I miss an opportunity and the fight lasts longer. The longer the fight lasts, the greater the chances of it turning against you. Okay? And when I say fight, I mean a life-threatening situation, not when they ding the bell or when I or he taps out or whatever. There's no goddamn tapping. Okay? If he's tapping, ow, he died. Okay? That means it hurts. It's painful, right? If he's tapping, like they do in martial arts schools, I step on their hand or I pin it up against their body because that's annoying. Okay? I understand it hurts. I understand where we are, but you're nowhere near being broken. So part of Budo is learning to accept pain and be able to work through it, which is why it really just chaps my ass when people who are talking about being warriors or being ninja or whatever, right? Bitching and whining and posting shit online about how, fucking get over it. Jesus Christ. You're supposed to be training to deal with somebody who's trying to kill you. And all you do is fucking whine all day. Not you. You guys are all enlightened. But, right? But if I say it, well, then I'm the hated one. Well, that's why I have broad shoulders, right? I had to grow a fatter body so I could get my shoulders broader to deal with all this bullshit from people that are warrior wannabes instead of fucking doing what warriors do, and it's make decisions and figure things out. Okay? Anyway, right, I'll get off my pedestal. All right, so if you want to see some drills and some extra application of these kind of things in actual, not, strategic kind of stuff, but actual doing, right? Get signed up for the Friday virtual training. If you go over there, you can sign up for it. It's still $4.99. Starting June 1st, goes up to $9.99 per class. All the prices have gone up. All my services are up. What you guys consider to be free, it's not free on my end. So prices are going up. So legacy folks, if you're already currently in a program or whatever, or if you're signed up before June 1st, those prices hold. After June 1st, all the prices are going up at least 50%. Because right now we've stacked so much stuff in there that the prices are undervaluing what we have, right? And besides that, people that aren't going to do it even if it were fucking $10. And if they did, they're going to quit soonest, because that's what I learned over the years. Those who pay the most in time, effort, and money, right? They have skin in the game. So they tend to last the longest. They tend to practice the hardest. They tend to stick it out and figure things out, right? Because they made an investment. Those who pay the least or nothing whine the most, don't practice, and quit soonest. It's just the way it works. And I'm not fishing for the prodigal son and the exception, because I can't pay the bills and support my family on that 1 in a million kind of thing. It's not going to happen. Okay. So anyway, this is what we have. Also, if that's not your thing, if you've always wanted to do ninjutsu but you don't know where to start as far as a foundation, we have a Foundations of Ninja Self-Defense program. It's the module 1 out of our 5 modules between white belt and black belt. I'll make sure in the description or in the comments, depending on where you are, there's a link in there that you can go check it out. That's a 16-week course. If you're somewhere in the middle, intermediate and whatnot, we have other modules and stuff, but we also have this weekly Ninpo Master class that we do. Our black belt Shinobi Kai classes here at the Academy are 6 p.m. Eastern, Tuesdays and Fridays. And I get it. You might be living somewhere around the world, so do the adjustment. But we do it through Zoom. So you can sign in. I got a whole bunch of students that sign in. They do the stuff solo, or they bring in a training partner, brother, friend, whatever, and do the stuff. I can critique it, help them out, that kind of thing. So we've got that kind of thing going on. And all these things are recorded. So it doesn't matter if you sign up for the Friday class, you sign up for master class, whatever. All the classes are recorded. So if you end up having to miss it, or it's just not something you show up for because of time zone difference and whatnot, I get it, right? 6 p.m. for me might be 3 in the morning for you, and it just doesn't work out. But they're all recorded. You have lifetime access, so you don't have to miss out on the lessons. Anyway, that's what I have. I'm going to stop beating a dead horse. So do me a favor. Post in the comments what your big aha moment was or whatever. Now, flaming things, bullshit, you don't know what you're talking about or whatever, I will chuckle and then I will just delete the comment. It's no big deal, right? But now if it's constructive criticism, right? I learned it this way. What about this? We can have dialogue. I don't have a problem with that, right? But what was your big aha moment? What was your big takeaway from this thing that is going to affect training as you move forward? Okay, I'm here to help. Okay, so if I can do that, great. And if not, no harm, no foul. I don't know why you just wasted 66 minutes, unless you were just avoiding work or the wife or whatever. Okay. Anyway, that's it. All right. I'm going to wrap this up. I will talk to everybody again next week on Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday. See ya. Train hard or train at least a little bit.